it's usually too late. It's already overpriced, or there's a situation of overbidding, like a bidding war that will go on. I want to completely avoid all of that. That's what makes me a professional at this. I find deeply discounted properties for investors. Investors take over these properties from me and they pay me 5, 10, 20. My highest thus far is $82,000 from single one deal, without touching the property, without fixing the property. Basically coming in, right, sign a paperwork, reassign that paperwork, the right to that paperwork, the purchase contract, to another person entirely. And then, but hey, by the way, we structured it as what we call the double close. So I bought the house, within the next few minutes I sold the house. I made $82,000 spread in between, and it's legal all day. Okay, so let's keep it moving here. These are the criteria that I've used to do that. Notice of default, meaning the person is facing some kind of delinquency, default. They haven't paid their mortgage in usually at least 3 months. That's what that means, right? It's an individual, not a corporate, right? Some LLCs, corporations own properties. I'd rather just market out to people that are individuals, right? It doesn't mean you can't do a deal with people that are corporations that own a property, but I don't market to them. They're not the typical. Has active bankruptcy suppressed? I don't want to see anything that has active bankruptcy. And then I want the estimated value of property to be between $100,000 and $500,000, because there's enough room and meat on the bone for me to make $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, right? If it's less than $100,000, there's no room to make money. Okay, there are other ways to do such deals, but the goal of this is to focus on where there's good chances for you to make some money, right? And then the last criteria is I like it to be 50% or more in equity, meaning they don't owe more than half of what the property is actually worth. Those are my criteria like that. That's what created these 17 properties, right? So if I go, let's just use this property for example, 3,600, and we're gonna call this the property of the day. Okay, let's use this property right here, 3,600 Indianola Avenue, right? We can tell up front that the estimated value of this property is $221, but we can also do a more in-depth with this software, more in-depth analysis. But we don't do that up front when you're looking for deeply discounted properties. We don't want to do any of that. Okay, but just a quick example, let's say I've done that, right? And I go under comparables and I see that off the bat, I put 1 mile radius, right? And I can see that this property is worth potentially $180,000, right? So if you go back to this simple tool, the deal estimator, right? And I put 180 right here as the after repair value of this property. I could be off. There are other videos where I cover how to accurately value a property, but let's just say it's $180,000, right? And this person, I spoke to them on the phone, after marketing, and they called me back, right? That means I contacted them and then it generated a lead. Let me show you what that looks like in the stages, right? So I established contact, stage 2. I initiated contact. They called me back, or they picked up the phone and they say, yes, I'm interested in an offer. That is a lead. Okay, that becomes a lead because of the interest, right? So just wanted to show you that in the stages really quickly. $180,000, and they told me it needs some work. It needs to be fixed up. So are you saying it needs like absolute work? We have to tear everything down? They said no, but I think it needs a new bathroom at least. And then I'll say, okay, I use my discretion. I say medium rehab, right? With this simple tool, it estimates about $27,000 based off of this. This is just my personal experiences over time. This number, it still needs to be scrutinized over time as we go, but this is good for estimate, right? And then the maximum allowable offer is now suggested starting off at $80,000, but I can't go over $90,000 to purchase this property. How did this work? Okay, 65% of 180 essentially. Okay, so 0.65, multiply that 180, right? Okay, wherever that is, right? We now have to subtract the estimated cost of repair, 27K from that. Okay, this is all estimate. and that number is approximately something like that, $90,000. So I cannot pay more than 90K for this property, right? If I'm able to find this deal and I negotiate, right, and then I write a purchase contract, like you do in any real estate transaction. A purchase contract, I have another video if you go into the archive of this channel where I cover the breakdown of the real estate contract, right? And I write a contract that says you have an obligation to sell me this property at $90,000 over the next 30 days. I can choose to buy this property within the clauses and all the agreements, all the different pieces of agreement, right? It's usually not a big deal. It's an as-is contract, right? Meaning they don't owe me a perfect property. They just owe me the obligation to sell me the property at this price. And I'll turn around and take that piece of paper, okay? So let's go really quickly. Let's go back to the steps. You're finding deeply discounted properties, right? You lock them up under a purchase contract, right? So that's the second step right there, right? And then what do? You assign, that's the step right there, assign the rights to purchase to an end buyer. Usually this end buyer is a cash buyer investor. Where do you find these people? You guessed it right, in the software, in the same software, right? So I know, let's say for example, this particular property, let's go back to the property. Let me put this in bullet for you to make it super simple. There you go. So step one, find deeply discounted deals, lock them up under a purchase contract, assign the right to purchase to an end buyer. I'm going to put step 4. This is the money part. In exchange for an assignment fee. Now, let me warn you up front. In a lot of states, a few states, okay, majority of the states are not doing this right now. It may catch up later, but it doesn't really matter. In a lot of states, they're starting to frown at this language, assignment, okay? But it's still assignment. It's just the way the contract will be, the deal will be structured, that will be different. I always prefer double closing. If you're doing double closing, there are other videos where we'll cover that. If I have time, I'll cover it. If you're doing double closing as against assignment structure, when you're structuring the deal, let me just explain it, okay? Let's just go ahead and do that, okay? In exchange for an assignment fee, my maximum so far, like I said, has been $82K for one deal, okay? Outright walk away, $82,000, okay? Net profit. All right, so now with that being said, it's very important that I cover this, I think. There's double closing, okay? There is assignment deals, okay? And it's at the end of the day is the same thing, but the difference is that for this one there are 2 transactions involved.